It's the Jim and Terry Show with my good friend Jim, not in the hot seat, not in the seat in the corner of the Hobbit Hole studio, our bunker during hard times. Still hard times? Well, it depends on who you ask. If you ask conservatives in Canada, they'd say it's something's fishy going on. How did Carney get in there? I don't care if he's got a minority. The Liberals are just going to be a continuation of the F. Trudeau policies and all that stuff. And yeah, the anger continues even though the election is free and fair and using traditional ballots and traditional manual ballot counting in Canada, still free from electronic tampering. Although in some local and some provincial elections, I think I voted electronically in the Ontario election. So it's still, a hybrid system here in Canada. Jim and I have discussed electoral reform, term limits, age limits, things that might help, including first past the post, ditching that idea of anyone who's got the most seats or votes wins the seat. That's not really democratic because, as we know in Ontario, you can have the PC government with a low voter turnout, less than half the voters turned out, 40%, and less than 40% of those who voted cast a vote for a progressive conservative in Ontario, and yet he retains a majority, not just won a minority, he won the majority with 17% of the popular vote. 17%. What? That is not democratic. So we got to fix it, make voting mandatory. We got to do something that gets people off their keisters and into the political process just by being willing to cast a vote. And in terms of the American First Amendment, the right to say, think, believe whatever you want, in Canada, we have our Charter of Rights and Freedoms. We have our own Constitution, the Canada Act, and the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which was a derivative of the Bill of Rights under Diefenbaker, who was a conservative, by the way. A lot of good things happen from a lot of different sources in Canada, and we celebrate that. But by and large, you have to weigh the good with the bad. That's part of the process of being informed. What is it that you like? What is it that you want? And I go back to this thing about spirituality and politics. Politics to me is where your spirituality hits the road of life. And show me your belief system by the policies that you support. And let me judge the quality of your spiritual beliefs by what you advocate in terms of policies. And for example, I will use, can you measure the quantity of good that comes from a particular policy? If you say you are pro-life and you want to ban abortions, all abortions, at any time, and that life begins at conception, we have a thorny area to explore, because with that pro-life policy or belief should come evidence that that actually does good. It does good if you adhere to a strict definition that life is at conception and that life is human and therefore is governed by all the rights and freedoms that the Constitution provides for that life. If you say that life is more important and more valuable than the health and life of the mother, we have an ethical issue, because now you have assigned value to basically a non-human, and I'm going to say that with as much discretion as I can, not being a medical doctor, to say that it is a fetus, it is a collection of cells for a significant amount of time. And you're going to tell me that the life and quality of life of the mother is secondary to preserving the life of that collection of cells, which is a potential human being, true, but potential has a quality assigned to it as opposed to the existing life of the mother and the quality of her life. Anyway, I don't want to get into the ethical issues, the morality of it, just to say that I think we should apply our belief systems to our political systems, and we should be able to measure things quantitatively. You should be able to apply a ruler that says, yeah, this is a good policy. Yeah, we lifted so many people out of poverty. Yes, we saved so many deaths from overdoses by doing this. Yes, we have helped improve, raise the standard of living by increasing minimum wages. Yes, we have. You should be able to say a whole bunch of things and put your money where your spiritual mouth is. What do you really believe about humanity? Are we all created equal? Are we all made in the image of God? If not, then you can arbitrarily do all kinds of things because you don't believe all people are the same. And you can oppress people. You can create laws, executive orders, and round people up and make them disappear without due process. Why? Because some people are not people. Sounds like the old Nazi policies of World War II. Yeah, it does. Sounds like something Xi Jinping would use in China. It sounds like something that Putin would use in Russia. You're right. These are all authoritarian regimes. So what do we believe, and do we really understand that when we argue for Project 2025, that it's good to make America great again? Do we understand what's really in the 900 pages of the document? Do we really understand who the Heritage Foundation is? Do we understand that there have been memos sent for government snitch lines to rat out those who are not Christian? Sounds nefarious to me. If you want to force your belief on someone, that is undemocratic. It might suit your belief system to say, yeah, God said, go out into all the world, make believers of everybody. So that satisfies that principle. But it is not democratic when you force your beliefs on others. I wanted to just get off that line for a minute and go back to Tim Miller and Piers Morgan and the controversy that seems to be what you project is what you are guilty of doing yourself. In other words, conservatives claim that liberals are the angry people. And I listen to conversations by people like Tim Miller and by the other progressive on this panel with Piers Morgan. And then I listen to the MAGA person. And I'm asking the question, which one sounds angry to me? Projection is confession is often a truism.
Fox or Steve Bannon's podcast or the Daily Wire. I mean, you see like North Korea-esque coverage of what's happening with the president of the United States as he's single-handedly tanking our economy for no good reason, just because he likes the word tariffs, I guess. He inherited an economy that was getting better, that was improving, that wasn't perfect, but that was, on the right path. And in 3 months, he has put us on the brink of recession. And so, I think that the coverage on Fox and on other right-wing media outlets is, if anything, worse than the mainstream media's coverage of.
Well, there you go. Yeah, if you can't cover it fairly, if you can't cover it reasonably, if you distort, if you select, if you use your bias as a filter, and you don't tell your audience what's really going on, you are guilty of doing nothing more than being a propaganda agent for Agent Orange, the Trump administration. It's not the case of both sides being the same. There is no validity in this case to the whataboutism argument. And that is a point worth discussing. And I'll just give you a sample of the rant of the MAGA person on the same panel as we close.
I think that we don't have a good enough asylum process, and there are plenty that are claiming asylum, and it doesn't matter whether someone is claiming asylum or not. Trump is treating them all the same. I mean, he just deported a 2-year-old U.S. citizen back to Honduras who is being treated for cancer. And that's the problem here, is when it comes to our border issues, we are focusing on, it's treated so broadly and so angrily, so hatefully, and there's no difference between these people. The way that this administration is treating them is inhumane.
Okay, Tim, you wanted to jump in there.
Piers,
hang on, Vinny. Hang on.
Go ahead, Vinny. I'll follow up, Vinny.
Yeah,
Go for
Tim,
it, bro.
Tim, and I appreciate you, bro. Thank you, and I appreciate it. First of all, that 2-year-old was here with an illegal alien mother, and if the mother gets deported, Piers, the kids go with the mother. So stop
She
that
is a
rhetoric.
2-year-old being
Concentration
treated
camp.
for cancer.
Excuse me. I let you speak. Please let me finish, okay? And you're
All right.
talking about, first of all, let me back up. Americans can't afford $1,000 and they're struggling. That's because of the last administration. Trump just got here. That's number one. And are you truly, genuinely talking about illegal? You're talking about illegal immigrants, illegals that are here, that are in freaking gangs. That to join the gang, they have to kill people, that sell drugs, that beat the shit out of his wife. We get rid of him. Is that who you're sticking up for? Are you honestly gonna sit here and say Trump is just doing abroad any illegal? No, it's going after the illegals, all right? And you mentioned veterans. I'm a United States Air Force veteran. When I joined, I swore an oath to the Constitution to protect this country of enemies foreign and domestic. And I never knew, Piers, who was the domestic. You know what the domestic is? It's the people that flood this country with illegals. They don't give a shit about a law. They weaponize the justice system. They try to kill our freaking president. And then when he tries to kick these people out, he's the mean one. I'm sorry. This is an argument that you are not going to win. Okay, there's absolutely no. He's talking about illegal gang members, and you're sticking up for MS-13 members. Have you ever encountered an MS-13 member? Have you ever spoken to one of them?
Well, I think the problem, Vinny, the problem, Vinny, hang on, I'm going to come to Tim. We are conflating several different issues here, because the issue of people being deported, many of whom are already on the deportation list and are convicted criminals, some of them for murder, rape, and so on. I don't think many Americans have any sympathy, with, I assume, with those on a deportation list who've had the due process but haven't yet been deported, now being deported. There is an issue about whether they should be put in prisons in El Salvador. I get that. But that's not to do with what's happened on the southern border. That's a different issue altogether. So, Tim, let me ask you the same question.
Sure.
You wouldn't naturally race to praise Trump for anything, but can you find it in yourself to say that what's happened on the southern border is a good thing?
I can't, and here's why. And I was happy to let my cousin Vinny over there go. I thought he was going to explode. He might have had a heart attack over there if we didn't give him a chance to talk. But
I'm good.
Here's the thing,
good.
Piers. I believe that. Look, I used to be a Reagan Republican. All right, I believed that we were a shining city on a hill. I believed that we were a place where people should want to come if they're fleeing oppression. If we're talking about these Venezuelans in particular, they're in a communist country where they are being persecuted by a communist dictator. And I think that we should have an orderly process where people should be able to come from Venezuela to this country to be refugees.
An orderly process. Due process. Tell the difference? Listen to the voices. They tell you a lot. The Jim and Terry Show. Wondering about how to sort fact from fiction.